Alright guys, this video is kind of for selfish reasons. And I'm thinking about tagging some people. I don't know if this will start a trend or not. That's not really not my intention. I'm just sort of curious. And people may not want to do it because when you hear what this site is, probably put it in the title. A lot of people may be afraid of their ideas getting stolen. Don't want to put them out on YouTube. I understand that. But for me, I'm making this video to get these things out of my head that kind of float in there. And I might explain why here in a minute. I'll try not to take too much time because I'm probably going to put on a few longer videos here. Internet's been acting funny all week because we've had rainstorms and everything, and out here in the middle of nowhere, if the wind blows just right, you get nothing. But anyway, what I have here are ideas for stories for comics. I posted one, I think, back in January, and what was sort of funny is that a few little things kind of tied into Final Crisis that they had. The only thing I regret is I didn't put in ideas that were revealed to one of my friends in an email back then. I'll put a link up to the video so this makes more sense for new subscribers or people who don't remember the video or didn't watch it. But anyway, what I didn't do out there was I got an email. I did the whole big how I would reboot the DC universe, and well, that was months before they announced the reboot they did back in September. But moving on. Anyway, I wrote an email to some of my friends telling them my idea. This is like back in 2004. One guy named Curtis emailed me back and kind of asked if I was going to put the New Gods, and I said yeah. Told him the ideas. He was a friend, and told him that Aquaman and Wonder Woman would be having a war also, and they did that in oh my God, I'm going blank. They did that in Flashpoint, but I didn't reveal it on the YouTube video. So I sent that video to Dan Didio through Facebook, and he said what I thought he'd say. He couldn't watch it because he's afraid of ideas that were there may have popped up and he'd have a big mess, and I understand that, so I'm not real worried. So I want to tag a few people, and if they don't want to do it, no big deal. But anyway, these are ideas that I have had floating in my head off and on for years for no reason, of how I would do comics, some comic book stories of mine. And if they suck, they suck. First thing I came up with was, this is from Dungeons and Dragons, how we used to do campaigns. Yes, I rocked D&D back in the 80s, 13 to 17, and I was the youngest. I've played with guys who were 19 to 30 and stuff. I was the youngest one. Great times, staying up all night. And we didn't just play D&D, man. You'd hang out, socialize, eat great food, stay up till like 6 in the morning. I don't care how nerdy that sounds, man. It was a great time. Great food. Anyway, so what I would do is that what we did to start out the campaign is everybody would make their characters, and they'd come up with these little backstories and stuff. And then the guy who's running the campaign, called the Dungeon Master, that's probably the geekiest thing I think out of D&D's. You call somebody a Dungeon Master, but I digress. But what he'd do is that he would read the backstories, and he would find everything that kind of connected. None of us knew. So what I thought would be cool is it's kind of, Image Comics could have done this, but they didn't. But everybody makes their own character. We get 7 really creative people. I don't know, it could be artists, teams, whatever, but they're not allowed to talk to anybody else involved. I would be the editor. I would say make any kind of character you want. I don't care what kind it is. Sword and sorcery, superheroes, whatever you want to do, and you give me a whole backstory. You can even name some villains. And then I would come across, pick everything that kind of connected or get the ideas, get a meeting, and then say here. And I would write what this little universe is about based on what they gave me. Now, anybody that's had that experience before knows there's all kinds of ideas that you never would have thought of, nobody else thought of, and it's a really cool amalgamation of creative minds, what they come up with. And you end up having something wonderful from people being creatively free to do whatever they want. And then we set the rules and give it a direction. I thought that'd be cool. Second thing I got, this one's going to be a downer for you guys. I don't want to make anybody mad or offend them, but I work with kids at risk and in schools. kids that are emotionally disturbed, mental, diagnosis, and I kind of help them stay in school, help them maintain their day, do a little bit of informal counseling with them and games and stuff. So I've been exposed to a whole lot through internships and everything. And it's kind of job you're not in it for the money. There is no money, but it kind of makes you see things differently when you see what some of these kids are exposed to. So let me explain where that came from. When I watched the Spider-Man movie in the theater, it kind of disturbed me because I've read about Spider-Man and the Green Goblin for years. But when I saw it in a movie, I saw how the Green Goblin became obsessed with Peter Parker and Spider-Man. It was very strange. It was almost kind of like, like pedophilia. Here's a grown man obsessed with a teenage boy. Okay, so what I would do is, here's what I wrote. Explore the aspects of Spidey and Green Goblin. Goblin's behavior appears to be more attraction than hate towards Peter. Ambition centered in Peter. Killed his girlfriend out of jealousy. Bondage, pedophilia. I mean, look at that first John Romita cover in The Amazing Spider-Man 38 or 39. He's dragging Spider-Man after he's tied him up. Monologues to him, messes with his personal life and stuff, and it's almost like it's just a sick drama to me. And what I would do is I'd do these with characters that you knew were Spider-Man and Green Goblin, but not them, and kind of explore that a little bit. Focus on Spider-Man's reactions to figuring this out. Ambiguous and funny to read. It wouldn't be, sick and twisted and perverted. Okay, got that out of the way. Okay. Then I came up with the idea of a new hero, and this is a different idea. A new hero. The hero has been around, and then he retired. And what you find out, the reason he retired is that he failed to save somebody. And the difference is, this wasn't circumstances that made it impossible. It was negligence on his side. He kind of got caught up in the ego. He kind of got caught up in his own hype, and he messed up. It was his fault. So he comes back out of retirement. I can go on and on about the ideas I have about why he does this. And first thing happens is that he ends up in the middle of the street, a big crossroads, lots of people around, and something really strange happens to where a bunch of people die, and it looks like he did it and he caused it. And believe me, this is fleshed out in my head, but what you find out is the big reveal on the last page is when he's sitting there, he's like, what the hell was that? What the hell happened? You find out that person that he did not save has been following him around, sabotaging him in front of people, and it's the ghost of the person he failed to save. That's the whole story. He's got a ghost that's messing with him. The ghost is making things happen. Nobody can see him, see the ghost, the person. It's always been a girl in my head. And that's the whole story. How is he going to get forgiveness from this ghost? He is powerless to stop a ghost. How do you stop a ghost? And this ghost is a vengeful ghost. It's a spirit. We get into the horror aspect there of somebody who's going to give your life hell. We're talking poltergeist and paranormal activity and everything in every day of your life, and that person is just there to ruin you. Okay? No harm is going to come to you. It's more fun to watch you squirm and be hated by people. And that's what it wants. Okay? Real quick eye there. Make sure I'm not missing anything. But, he starts out, everything's perfect. He's glad to be a hero. He's back, and then it's like, bam, right when he's in front of people for his big reveal. Stopping the muggers and all this stuff, quietly, 2-3 people there. And then when he's in the middle of this big street intersection, this big fight occurs, Alright. Okay. Here's why I decided to do this. I just saw a cover for some X-Men book that's coming out. I don't remember what it was, but it showed Wolverine, I think, with a backpack walking down the road. And I think this book's coming out in a month or two, if it's not already out. And I saw the cover, and there's a sign, and Wolverine's more or less got a backpack and he's walking away. That's an image I had for a story where you have a Cable-like character, and he's walking out of this alley, and you can see lights behind him and stuff from fires and a big fight, and he's had enough, and he's dropping pieces of armor. He's quit and he's shedding off piece after piece after piece, and he just keeps walking. He walks out of the city. He walks down this old highway, passes the sign leaving New York. I mean, the image was in my head, and this cover of this comic book I just saw, same thing. And that's when I had enough and had to get these out there. And he goes out and he ends up living in the country, and he's trying to have sort of a peaceful life. And what it's going to do is it's going to explore the post-traumatic syndrome, if you will. It's not going to be all Vietnam-like or nothing. Of everything he's done, the senseless violence that happens. When you read comics and stuff, they're entertainment. We want to see our big fights and stuff, but what would that do to somebody? And Cable was the perfect character, because I've never really seen a whole lot of use for Cable, honestly. He kind of shows, to me, sort of a decline in comics of an anti-hero. I mean, you know, I'm not a Cable fan, but I don't hate Cable. But this gave me a purpose for a character like that in comics. And this is where he's older and he's reflecting on things, and it kind of explores that, and then he has to come back. And that's the real meat of the story that I want to tell, is somebody who was just, you know, a Cable. He's in there fight, shoot, been fighting all his life, and then he stops and he comes back after being burnt out from it. He realizes how senseless this was. How would he do things different? How would it affect him? How would he look at these villains? Would he talk to them more? Would he be more efficient fighting for, you know, less violence and less destruction and stuff? I mean, he just reached a point that he's burnt out, and with good reason. So when you came back and you had to come back, how would you be different? To me, it would completely change a character like that. So that was one story. Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to this next one, and this is going to be short because this is in my head also. This came back in the 90s. Like I said, this stuff's been in my head for years. But I want to tell the story of the Green Lantern Corps. Back then was you had to be without fear. And now they're saying you have to overcome fear, which is alright. So imagine this book, okay? No rules. Forget about one universe and the other rule. It would be Matt Murdock, Green Lantern, man without fear. A blind man with a power ring. All I'm saying. Moving on. The next one, I had a job at one point where I was called a supported living counselor. And it caused me to do a lot of traveling in this area. Now where I live is southwestern Virginia. And I was everywhere from Roanoke to Bristol to Danville. I mean, we're talking about, if you drew a big circle and stuff, I would drive 4 hours one way and then have to come back and meet with people and visit them and stuff. And what was amazing is I started seeing homeless people. And I actually ended up kind of talking to one time in a place called Bristol, Virginia / Tennessee. It's on the state line. And this man was bald-headed, did not wear shoes, had brand new glasses, walked with a backpack, rolled his jeans up, and he walked with 2 chows, dogs. And it made him look immaculate somehow. And when you talked to him, he was highly intelligent. And I heard stories about the guy who really had money. He just chose to live this way. And, you know, I got fascinated with the guy. I ended up talking to him. I stopped at a Burger King. And he walked in. He got a cup of coffee and 2 cheeseburgers. And a paper. And he sat down on the sidewalk, started reading the paper, fed the cheeseburgers to his dogs. And that's when I can't remember. I said something to him. And he started talking to me. No hick accent. No. Very intelligent guy. Reading the newspaper. And I was like, what I'm seeing is not what's there. So I go to another place called Buchanan County, and that place, wow! I mean, that's the home of the cliches of Appalachian culture. You know, we'll put it that way. And I saw this guy drive by on a bike. He had an old Schwinn bike, and he had on these bright colors, yellow pants, a great big huge bright jacket, and he had the hat with the muffs and all this stuff, and it was regal-like. I mean, it was, you know, these were loud clothes and made them stand out. And I started thinking, what if there's more of these guys? I mean, these guys have stories and stuff. And I called it Hobo Kings. This is probably around, when did I have that job? 98 to 2005 I had this job. So I started seeing these guys, started paying attention all over the place. And here's the idea I came up with. This one's kind of weak, but I feel like it's got the most potential. It's called Hobo Kings. Four homeless men scattered across southwest Virginia are the self-exiled secret kings of everything, based on actual homeless I've seen. One is bald, walks with two chow dogs, never showers, has a beard. One is yellow pants, red shoes, rides that bike all over the place. And I go on talking about 2 or 3 other ones that I saw. But basically what happens is that these kings have set themselves up to guard a great evil. And it's trapped in the mountains of the Appalachian Cumberland Mountains where I live at. And that explains why there's so much depression and sickness and, you know, all the bad things that are here. And they have to trap it here or this would be worldwide. And they can never return as their kings. We don't know they were our kings. We've forgotten it, or there's a little bit of a story fleshed out in my head, but it's not enough to really share. And these guys are all at certain points to surround the base of where this great evil is hidden. But the thing still influences everything around here. And it's everything, the uneducated, the black lung, the dangers of the mines, the floods and stuff. We've sacrificed our area to save the rest of the world, more or less, from what it would be. And these kings have to stay there as sentries, as guards for these 4 magical points. And what happens when they have to reunite? The evil is coming. It's getting out. Something has happened. One of the kings have fallen. And, you know, the way I picture it, we get to see these kings. We see them the way I saw them. We saw them as homeless. And then, you know, you start seeing people talk to them and they speak and you start following them. It's just from people seeing them to where you see each and every one of them and you get their story. And then you see what happens when the story progresses because the evil is escaping. One of the kings have fallen. What happened? And then you get to see how they're great warriors. I mean, of almost mythological ability. The other one is just an image I have. I would definitely throw this one at Marvel and stuff. I think it'd be good. Wonder Man has disappeared. Wonder Man, I know he started the Revengers and stuff like that, so that was another reason I decided to do this. I had a Wonder Man story, and apparently this guy is just taken off. But what happens is he's disappeared, and people start noticing he's disappeared. They start putting it together. And later he's found there's this big, huge ship circling Earth or something, or traveling through space. Maybe they find it by accident, just on another creative scroll of adventure or something. And when they board the ship, they get on there, and they make it to, you know, a part of the ship where there's this big ionic energy. That's what they pick up, the ionic energy. So they get down there, and when they turn around, they bust open the door, and there is Wonder Man in the center of this great big huge engineering room, and he's more or less crucified up there. And he's powering this ship. And he's not just powering this ship, he's powering a whole fleet of ships with his ionic energy. I always thought that was just a cool image. Alright guys, that's what I got wrote down. You know, just throwing a few ideas out there. And, you know, I'm not so much going to tag anybody. Yeah, I'm not going to tag anybody. But anybody wants to share stories and out there, put them out there. You know, I'd be curious to hear them and make a little video like this. Okay guys, remember, stay sane inside of insanity.